Hello, I wanted to talk about a follow-up to my 2018 version of Intense Design with the 2020 version, Intense Design. In it I have several new chapters, including one on design research and visual principles and surprise in design. So I was going to read a little bit from the surprise in design chapter, which is a bit unusual, but I thought it might be interesting. And it goes as such. I have posted the following statements on the wall of our design studio. Magic is not an option. Above all else, guard your heart. How is your design surprising? So those three little posters I have up in the studio. Magic is not an option. Magic is fun and whimsical, but it doesn't actually work in making designs function. Keeping designs rooted in an engineering foundation rather than wishful thinking is the reason I wrote my last book, Engineering for Industrial Designers and Inventors. It was intended to pour a foundation of mechanical science into the life of the designer. The second aphorism, above all else guard your heart, comes from Proverbs 4:23, which continues on to say, for everything you do flows from it, or from a different translation, from it flows the springs of life. This idea is intended to point to larger truths in one's self-identity as an element of the creative process. How is your design surprising? This is asking if your new design has brought joyful surprise and delight to a user. Have you created the wow factor? Have you brought a smile to someone's face? You can't always do this, but it is good to try. Surprise was one of the elements of the creative product semantic scale that was talked about in another chapter, and I'll skip part of that. But continuing, poetry can be thought of as using words in surprising ways. Art often presents a surprise, such as the bizarre imagery produced from recognizable objects in surrealism. Surprise is part of the design principle of rhythm. Art and design both produce something from nothing, order from chaos. Art communicates something and evokes emotion, while design creates usefulness and perhaps solves a problem. Even though design is constrained to usefulness, it can also create joy, wonder, and surprise. Design works outside science. However, science is a useful tool, just like language is a useful tool, but science is based on assumptions of rationality and empirically driven truths that can be drawn from the apparent chaos in which we live. Science is rooted in methodological naturalism, in which the mind alone determines truths. However, methodological naturalism can't handle the notion of the rationality. It has a faith component, namely that the human mind is rational and the world has closed regularities, meaning that there is no exceptions to scientific laws. And then I talk a little bit about a mathematical theorem of interest, the incompleteness theorem. I'll skip that part. However, we are not satisfied with incomplete truths. Design embraces the chaos around us and extracts features from the chaos that appeals to and surprises us. Design has a pleasantly irrational element that derived from outside the weight of science. Joyful surprise is a beautiful element in design. Creating surprise is challenged by our lust for efficiency. Information technology people create the environment where technology devotees live. For the sake of the efficiency, we cede our information curation to a handful of coders. Many online environments have small giggling gaggles of employees defining the user experience. And this is really amazing because places like Reddit and such have very few employees, and they define the user experience. So this is something to reflect on. When people create heuristics for artificial intelligence-driven systems, we end up with efficient but curated answers. For example, if you ask a smart device a question, you only want to hear one reply, not a long rambling list of possible answers and nuanced presentations. But who gets to decide what this one answer is? Well, even with text responses, who decides which answer is presented first? This is efficient but scary. So you have this case with information overload, and there's curation going on, and you wonder who's doing it and what the basis for those hierarchies are. So continuing, efficiency and autonomy seem to battle when ostensibly wise coders and AI provide recommended words and succinct answers. We forfeit something, but it isn't our time. We seem to gain time with this added efficiency, but we must recognize that language is also a technology too, and does not provide some absolute freedom of expression. We become overwhelmed with information. Although we ask AI and the coders behind it to ease our environment, the cascading flow of bad news in front of our eyes makes us assuage our guilt by claiming some type of victim status. So how do you deal with a bunch of bad information or information that cuts close to the heart. You have this cognitive dissonance that you have to deal with, and sometimes victim status can be the rock we hide under. Continuing, not only are recommended words and correct answers pushed on us, but so are images. We may use image searches to explore design ideas. However, seeing these images rings the bell. You can't unring the bell, as I say, and you can't unsee images. So if you do a Google search and you're seeing ideas, you can't not see them anymore. Our minds are stuck with other people's designs. The magic has become the mud of the masses. And then I have a description. There was a interesting painting from just recently, 2018. It was a portrait, an AI-created portrait, and it sold for over $432,000. And anyway, it's amazing. It had the algorithm as or part of the algorithm as a signature block. So it was interesting, the appeal that people have. It's kind of, I've seen the painting. It's and other AI-generated paintings, and they are what they are. However, humans are the ones who determine surprise and astonishment. There are no algorithms that produce the delightful surprise we aspire towards in design. I like to add the word delightful once in a while to remind us that it is easy to frighten and offend with surprise. These are the low-hanging fruit of surprise, so often used in popular culture and angry art. Mechanistic innovations rightfully create the most excitement, but surprise is a quiet charmer. It appeals to our sense of wonder and exploration. We giggle inside. During the process of design, it is difficult for you to recognize the potential for your design to surprise someone. Design critiques can help. Other people whom you trust and respect can ask awkward questions while they criticize, encourage, and motivate. There's also a place for thumbnail sketches that allow a dance between eye and hand as you work lines and shape forms. Just like a child looking under a rock for surprisingly creepy bugs, we need to keep turning over rocks with our very human hands. So anyway, that's a reflection on surprise in design. It's a really difficult thing to achieve. There's really not rules and methods for obtaining it, but these are just some reflective thoughts. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.